Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got an interesting topic for you where I'm going to be talking about cards that are basically Commander cheat codes. Cards that will either kind of just break what we think about a certain type of card and what the expectation of a power level should be and say, you know what, no, my power level is way up here because I'm just better than other cards essentially. So yeah, let's go through some examples and talk about why these cards are Commander cheat codes. So first up, a card that I truly believe if Commander were to restart today and needed a brand new ban list, Sol Ring I think would be banned. This card is a cheat code. Yes, I know that all the precons have come with it. It probably should have been banned at the onset of the entire format, though. It's a crazy, crazy good card. An artifact for one, thrown off already, that can tap for two, essentially. When it comes to that kind of efficiency, it does not exist elsewhere, except for one other card that we'll talk about here in a bit. But again, when it comes to that kind of efficiency, that is absurd. You are getting a mana rock that gives you back more mana than you put into it. Typically, good efficiency for any kind of a mana rock out there is basically getting half the mana back that you put into something, like a 2 mana artifact that taps for 1, essentially, like a Felwar Stone or Arcane Signet. This one essentially just flips that on its head. It says, no, I actually do the exact opposite of that. I cost half the amount that I'm actually going to give you back. So when you are playing this, you literally net mana when you play it. You are getting more mana on that turn than you would have had. And instead of going down on mana to play a mana rock, you're going up on mana. This can just skyrocket you so fast past your opponents. Again, a turn 1 Sol Ring into another mana rock essentially can just be, well, the game might already be over essentially. I mean, it's not over, but it might be over if your opponents don't have any way to kind of slow you down essentially with that kind of a start that can just propel you to 5 mana on turn 2 essentially. Absolutely crazy good card. And currently 99 cents for this cheat code. Now again, it's a cheat code that many players have access to. So yeah, I mean, is it really, you know, kind of getting advantage over your opponents? Maybe, maybe not, but still, again, it's just a card that, again, in my opinion, would probably be banned if they were to completely redo the ban list and just kind of restart Commander these days with everything they know now. Probably be banned, along with, well, Mana Crypt, yet another cheat code. This one even more so, you really gotta pay up for this cheat code at $170. But again, for the right format, again, if you're playing in a certain power level group, that might be worth it. Artifact for 0. Does the exact same thing as, Sol Ring, essentially tap for 2. So instead of costing 1, it costs 0, and it taps for the same amount. So again, literally, turn 1, you've got access to essentially 3 mana, right? Absolutely absurd. Absurd. Now, there is a downside to it. Beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Mana Crypt deals 3 damage to you. Okay. Now, yes, there are times when you can get really unlucky and get a lot of lightning bolts to the face with this, sure, and I've seen players get taken out by their Mana Crypt. That being said, on average, you're basically losing 1.5 life per turn, right? One of your turns, not every turn. 1.5 life on your upkeep essentially is the expectation that you will lose. Again, not a lot when it comes to your total life total being 40. And if you can get an advantage like this over your opponents, but it's getting so much mana right away, that is pretty absurd. So yeah, Mana Crypt is most definitely a cheat code. A more expensive Sol Ring, essentially. A more expensive cheat code. Next up, let's talk about a creature that is a cheat code, and yeah, Dockside Extortionist, a card that many out there had been calling for a ban on it. It didn't end up getting banned, and yeah, it still remains an active cheat code in Commander. A 1/2 Goblin Pirate for 1 and a red. Enters the battlefield, create extra tokens or extra number of artifacts and change your opponent's control. Now, this card is brokenly good. This is a game-changing card that when you play it, you could very easily get 20 plus treasures and just all of a sudden be able to utilize all those to skyrocket past your opponents. It's basically a giant potential ritual effect with a lot of other benefits because, again, it's on an ETB, not even on like a cast trigger requirement ETB. So again, if you blink this, cool, all of a sudden you get even more. And of course, this goes infinite with quite a few things. It's also just, again, great in a treasure-based strategy, one that can utilize ways to, maybe double up your tokens or ways to just essentially say, hey, when you sacrifice those artifacts, you get extra benefits, or maybe you punish your opponents for that. Yeah, this is a game-changing card. It's a 2-mana massive ritual effect that, again, has other applications as well. It is an active cheat code in Commander, again, currently $55. So, again, a pretty expensive cheat code. Not Mana Crypt expensive, but still a very expensive cheat code. But now let's move on to some instant speed cheat codes with Cyclonic Rift. Yeah, a card that is synonymous with Commander. An instant for 1 and a blue. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Overload for 6 and a blue. So a card that was just okay in other formats, right? Because, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm paying 7 mana to bounce one player's things. This is just instead in Commander, oh, I'm paying 7 mana instant speed to bounce everyone else's things but mine. Again, 3 players' things. All of them gone, essentially. A giant one-sided instant speed board wipe, again, with flexibility. Yeah, there's nothing else like it. There is nothing else like it. Again, we talked about efficiency, like, you know, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt. Those are just so much more efficient than other mana rocks out there that aren't banned in Commander. Again, the Mox would be up there too, but those are banned for some reason in Soul Ring and those aren't. Anyways, different discussion for a different day. But Cyclonic Rift, again, it being an instant speed board wipe is already just crazy. It having flexibility is already just crazy. And when it comes to just being able to bounce a player's things, essentially, right, you got like River's Rebuke, which is still a very good card, but that sorcery speed at 6 mana. So yeah, I'll pay 1 extra mana and then actually just bounce all the things is what most players are saying if they're willing to pay up for this $26 cheat code. Next up, Vampiric Tutor. Yeah, a very good tutor. Instant speed for a single black mana. Search life for a card, then shuffle your life, put the card on top. You lose 2 life. Again, in other formats, it's still a very good card. But it is, hey, lose 1/10 of your life. Again, because you start at 20. Community start twice as much. So, hey, lose 1/20th of your life. Not a big deal at all. Basically losing nothing. So you tutor for whatever you need. It's not going in your hand. But still, being able to just set the top of your library with whatever card you need at instant speed. So before your turn, again, your opponents might not even realize that you maybe have a game-ending play because right before your turn, you're like, oh yeah, I have single black mana, cool, tutor, get the right card I need, I win next turn. An incredible tutor, again, so incredibly efficient. Again, doesn't get you the card right in your hand, but again, and if you pair it with, you know, any kind of a cantrip or draw spell or whatever, sure, or just your next turn's draw, it's just a crazy, crazy, crazy efficient, crazy good tutor. Next up, Fierce Guardianship. Yeah, free counter spells are a very good thing. This one, a $30 cheat code for you. Instant speed for 2 and a blue, but you're never going to pay that most likely. If you control a commander, you may cast a spell paying its mana cost. Oh, Wizards, I do not like that text. You just really push things with that text, especially with this one. Counter target non-creature spell. Now, can this deal with everything? No, but when it comes to either dealing with creatures or non-creatures, non-creature is definitely more impactful. Again, as you can just see in Commander, hey, Negate sees a ton of play. It's one of the most played cards in Commander. Just counter target non-creature spell for 2 mana, essentially, right? 1 in a blue, versus, I can't even remember, Essence Scatter? Is that the creature-based one, essentially? For 1 in a blue, counter a creature spell. Yeah, non-creature is a lot more applicable. And this one, again, is just basically a free it's a get out of jail free card, essentially, for you. Again, hey, I'm tapped out. Oh, darn. Oh, opponent's going to cast something that I don't like. Oh, do I have my commander? Yeah, I probably have my commander in play. Cool. Counter for free. And again, if you don't have your commander, you still have the flexibility of, you know, this being a 3 mana counter, which is just basically cancel. I mean, it's cancel with downside being an only non-creature, but still, you know what I mean. A crazy, crazy, crazy good card. Again, anytime you get a free counter spell, essentially, and one that really doesn't have a downside to it, it's pretty crazy. Speaking of a counter spell, this one is not free, but kind of. Mana Drain. Yeah, this is a massive cheat code. $38 for this cheat code. Instant for blue. Blue. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase at an amount of colors equal to that spell's converted mana cost. Here's the thing. Again, counter spell. One of the most played cards in Commander. This is just strictly better. This is counterspell stapled on top of it with a just ritual effect, essentially. This, again, is just, hey, counter any spell for blue, blue. That is counterspell, one of the most played spells. And then it's just, hey, you know what? Oh, that spell costs 8 mana? Cool. I'll get a free 8 mana my next turn. This can just lead me, you know, to just get a giant boost in mana to put me well ahead of my opponents. Definitely a cheat code. Again, already just a very, very efficient counterspell. Already a very good counterspell. If this was just counter target spell, so another version of counterspell, you're going to see an absurd amount of play, obviously. But yeah, with it being, hey, also just get an absurd amount of mana potentially, or even just a couple of mana. Still, just be able to get that mana back or then some, absolutely absurd. Moving on, though, when it comes to lands, yeah, we got some cheat codes there as well. When it comes to lands, usually, again, like lands don't really take up a spot in your deck, right? You have to play, you know, a certain number of lands. And by being able to replace those lands, like just basics, essentially, and I love basics, but with lands that do other things as well, that's a cheat code. Besage Who Endures. This one does not enter the battlefield tapped. You can just utilize that mana right away, and that is huge. It is a legendary land, which has some upsides to it. You know, there's certain things that can tutor for legendaries. Regardless, tap for a green right away. So basically, the exact same thing as a forest, though obviously it's not a forest type, so you can't go search for it. It's not a basic. Regardless, it has channel for 1 and a green, but you're probably never going to pay that. Discard it, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land opponent controls. That player may search library for a land with a basic land type. Put on the battlefield, then shuffle. Ability costs 1 to activate for each legendary creature control. So again, already at just 2 mana, that's already a good effect. This one just is probably just going to cost you a single green mana though, because you're probably going to have a legendary creature in play. This is basically a 1 mana, hey, just also a great removal spell. Yeah, sure, you ramp them. Whatever. It's going to be worth it to actually destroy that artifact or enchantment, or again, non-basic land. If they've got a Gaia's Cradle, sure, replace that with a forest, essentially. Yeah, an absolutely crazy removal spell that just, again, doesn't take up a slot in your deck. It's just a land, and it doesn't slow you down. It just can be utilized right away for mana. Pretty absurd. Speaking of which, Otawara, the Soaring City. The legendary land that can tap for a blue, channel for a 3 and a blue, discard it, return target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to owner's hand, but it costs 1 to activate for its legendary creature control. Again, these kind of paired together is just basically like, oh yeah, I just got 2 free removal spells in my deck. I mean, they're not free to cast, but I mean, they could cost as low as 1 essentially. But when it comes to free, just, yeah, they're not taking a spot in my deck. They're just a land in my deck. So yeah, if I need to use it for a land, I can just get into play. If I need to use removal, great, I can do that. Absolutely crazy, again, that these just allow you to have it enter the battlefield, untap, and just tap right away. So also, again, just one more. Iganjo, Sea of the Empire. Tap for a white, pay 2 and a white, discard it, 4 damage target attack and blocking creature, cost 1 to activate for each legendary creature control. So again, basically just a removal spell on maybe a medium-sized to small creature, or again, a creature that maybe has been dealt combat damage in the turn that you can take out, maybe a bigger creature. Yeah, again, just a card that really doesn't take up a spot in the deck, and just free removal, essentially, for you to just have in your deck. A great utility card. Very, very absurd. Speaking of absurd, Ancient Tomb. We talked about how just getting a giant advantage mana-wise can be just huge. Again, with Soul Ring, Mana Crypt. This is basically like Mana Crypt as a land, kind of, in a way. Ancient Tomb is a land that can tap for colorless colors. It deals 2 damage to you. So this one is guaranteed damage to you. But again, this $63 cheat code is, hey, do you want to get way ahead of your opponents right away? Awesome. Again, when it comes to lands that tap for 2, there's not all that many out there, and most of them have, again, a downside, like a bounce land. You need to bring a land back to your hand and enter the battlefield tapped. This one is not enter the battlefield tapped at all. Its downside is just damage, and again, its damage is already just mitigated in a format like Commander because you start off at twice as much life. Again, in a other format, where you start off at 20, this is 1/10 of your life every time. This is 1/20th of your life in Commander. You get any ways to gain life to, mitigate that damage. That can be great as well, obviously. But again, when you're just getting this hypercharged start to the game, again, just picture this plus like Soul Ring, or this plus Mana Crypt. Absurd starts can happen, just getting way more advantage than you probably ever need. Then we've got, yeah, if you're wanting to spend up for a very big cheat code, yeah, the Alpha Duels. Just using Underground Seed as an example. $700 is probably a minimum for these kinds of cards. I mean, I'm sure they're even more expensive. Basically, it's a very simple card. It is a land, it is a swamp and an island, and it can tap for blue or black. Yeah, basically, this is just an incredible cheat code. Again, basic lands are, I like basic lands. Basic lands are great, but again, they're like 5 cents a piece. For the expensive price of, again, thousands of dollars, you can get these, and all of a sudden, yeah, you get basically a 2-for-1. You get the dual land that can essentially tap for 1 of 2 colors right away. You can also tutor for it with many cards out there as well. Yeah, a crazy cheat code if you want to spend up for it. Now, in my opinion, it's definitely not worth it for, I mean, again, I'm a budget player, so I'm not going to spend up on basically any of these, except Soul Ring now is apparently 99 cents, so there you go. But again, it is a crazy difference between this and other lands. Speaking of that, finally, Gaia's Cradle. Yet another cheat code. This one around $900 apparently. Legendary land, tap for a green to your mana pool for each creature you control. Yeah, it's very easy for an ADX out there to get a ton of creatures into play. When you do so, now this land taps for like 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever, an absurd amount of mana, essentially. And yeah, again, just on a land. Yeah, that is a very big cheat code where, again, you don't need to do a lot of other ramp. You just need to get this land into play, and all of a sudden, you've got the ability to just get an absurd amount of mana and get way ahead of your opponents. So have fun with that. But again, yeah, a very expensive cheat code for you to have. But now as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know your thoughts are on all of these. What other cheat codes have you thought of that you think I should have brought up on this channel? So yeah, make sure you let me know in the comments below. Check out that card list link in the description for the cards I talked about on this episode, and consider picking up a cheat code. Maybe even that Soul Ring again, which is right under $1 right now, which is just absolutely incredible. So yeah, comment below, check out that card list link. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.